Hey guys, what's up? Gonna do a second video tonight, and we're gonna touch on the first, adjusting my pad here, the first exercise in the exercise packet for the battery called Legatos. But before we do that, let me talk about bass drum technique. I realize I kind of skipped that in the first video, and so I want to make up for it. The bass drums, I'll have a handout at the next camp to really give you an idea of how it should work. But for the bass drums, we're going to, let me move this pad. I'm going to start with our hand down at our side, okay? Put the stick in our hand, just like the match grip for the snare drum and quads. That's how we hold the bass drum mallet, okay? And going to hold it at a 45-degree angle to the ground. Maybe you can see that. There you go. A little bit. And yeah, adjust this. Okay. So a 45-degree angle to the ground. And from there, you're going to bend only at the elbow so that this is parallel to the ground. We're going to go, you can go to the top of the arm, more the middle than anything else, parallel with the ground, the two bones that are in there. Okay, and what you're going to do is it's going to be a mixture of if your arm was on a table and rolling out. That's going to be part of it. The other part is going to be bent wrist. So it's almost going to be like you're playing a sideways snare drum, but you're going to rotate out. Okay, your fingers are going to be really supportive of the mallet. That's really what's going to help pull the mallet towards the head. Okay, and if the drum is here, let's put it that way, the stick comes straight off of the drum. So if the drum was sideways, the stick, trying to find the best angle to show you this, would come straight off the drum. So here, it's the same thing. Okay? Cool. So that's basically our bass drum approach. Parallel to the ground, roll and bend, lots of finger support. Your angle, you're going to have an angle towards the drum head, okay? So, sort of like that. You're not ever going to march like this. This is bad. You're never going to grab the rims, okay? Cool. So, let's get on to drumming. One more thing, I'm going to flatten this out for that, is I didn't talk about stick heights in the last video, and that's okay. Stick heights really are more of a playing thing than they are an approach thing, but you'll hear me use stick heights a lot. If you look in the packet, there should be some dynamic markings, and I can bring it up here. Kind of, that's the wrong notebook. Sorry, guys. Man, I'm just not organized right now. Here we go. I can pull the page open and kind of show you. It looks something like that. You'll see something like that, okay? And that's our stick height system. And it's a dynamic system, is basically what it is, okay? So if you're, just like the bass drums, the snares and quads will have a slightly downward angle to the drum, right? The sticks kind of would go down towards the head a little, okay? And this is piano. This is 1 inch, okay? Oh, well, you can see 1 inch, the downward angle. From there, not lifting at all. That is your grace note height. That low note right there, that's 1 inch, okay? Now, mezzo piano, that's piano, by the way. I try to use dynamics in the notes, in the notation, rather than just a bunch of numbers, because Finale plays dynamics, doesn't play stick heights. So that's piano. Mezzo piano is 3 inches. That's going to be parallel to the ground, okay? That's going to be mostly wrist turn. You're going to notice my arm's not moving a whole lot. That's okay. This is low motion, little motion, so you use little muscles, not big ones, okay? If I did this, I wouldn't be bending my wrist at all. It'd just be elbow. You would rather use little muscles and save energy, okay? So that's 3 inches, or mezzo piano. Now, the next dynamic up would be mezzo forte. So that's what we're going to call 6 inches, okay? So 6 inches, it's about there, okay? And honestly, we're going to come back to that. Let's go to 15 inches, which is 3 Fs, or fortissimo. Okay, that is perpendicular to the drum head. That is the opposite of 3 inches, which is parallel with the drum head. Okay, 15 inches, fortissimo, 3 Fs. We're very rarely going to play this. Okay, now we split that in half, just like we would split mezzo piano and 3 Fs in half, and you're going to get forte, 1 F. Mezzo piano to mezzo forte, 3 to 2 Fs, mezzo forte to 1 F, 2 Fs to 1 F. Forte, right in the middle. I know that was weird. Sorry, just bear with me. So, what's right in the middle of parallel and perpendicular? 45 degrees. That's what we're going to call 9 inches. We're using a 3-inch height here. So, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Okay? So 9 inches is your halfway point. That's what a lot of our accents are going to be. That's so we don't overpower the rest of the ensemble, but also it's a very comfortable height when you're playing fast. You know, when you're playing something like that, you need to be able to move quick, but pop a little accent in there. Right? So, it'll probably be about 9 inches. So you'll see the dynamic forte. So, let's go lower than that. Mezzo forte. That's halfway between 9 and 3. So that's going to be 6 inches. You'll hear me talk about 4 inches sometimes. That's a beefy 3. That's wrist with a little bit of arm. 6 inches, not so much. It's more wrist still. Your arm might start to move a little bit. It depends on the literature you're playing. But for the most part, unless it's rolls, it's going to be wrist. So, what do we have so far? Piano is 1 inch, or your set position. Mezzo piano is 3 inches, parallel to the drum. Mezzo forte, 6 inches, halfway between 3 and 9, or parallel and 45 degrees. 9 inches is a 45-degree angle off the head. Now, let's go 3 inches higher, 12. Instead of halfway between 45 and perpendicular, yeah, actually, now that I look at it, that's about what we could call that, 12 inches. So it's not quite perpendicular, a little under, but if you look at it, that being perpendicular, that being 45 degrees, 12 inches, it's almost halfway. That's going to be some really big impact moments. Okay? So you've got 1 inch, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Those are your dynamics. They go piano, mezzo forte, forte, double F, triple F. Okay? Right now in the opener, there is one note that is actually 4 Fs, and that's 18. So, where do we go from here? Never go back, because then you have to work more. You let gravity kind of help your push there. If you're going way back here, you're fighting against gravity for a moment, and then you're going with it. So it's not useful to go past perpendicular. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take our angle, right? Go to 12 with our wrists, and then turn our arms so that the stick is perpendicular with the ground, or the drum head if it's flat, okay? On snare drums, that would be this, right? 12 inches, perpendicular to the drum head, okay? So, that's your height system, and that has already taken up way more time than I thought. So let's get into this exercise. We're going to play some legatos. This is going to be the first exercise we play, okay? So let me turn my metronome on here, and I'm just going to play it for you and give you a chance to kind of hear what it sounds like, and then we'll go from there. I'll talk a little bit about it, and, you know, maybe you'll learn something. Sorry, I had to adjust the screen there. Here we go. So you'll notice two things right away. When the metronome comes in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, attack. You come out on 3 of the bar before you attack. Always for exercises, normally for show music too. The other thing you'll notice is I got to the end. 1, 2, 3. Beat 3, or 2 beats, rest, rest, after the release is when we're going to bring our sticks in, rather than, that's kind of rushed. It doesn't give us time to relax, right? So, like we talked about, or will talk about, relaxing our arms. Always talking about that. So, the exercise is called legatos. There's a reason for that. These are all legato strokes. Starts and stops up here. The only time it stops down here is the last note on that hand. And the only time it starts down here to lift is the first note on that hand. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, lift. 1, 2, 3, 4, lift. Okay, depends on the speed. You'll lift naturally, but you don't lift on the beat. You have to lift before, obviously. From there, you have a legato motion. Very relaxed wrist, very relaxed arm. You get the point. It's eighth notes. It's what most of our book is actually made up of. And you might think, oh, there's 16th notes in there. It's not all eighth notes. Okay, you're right, but each hand is normally playing eighth notes. So I think if we could play eighths at the tempo of our show for the entire way through, we'd have the chops to play the show. And here's why. 16th notes, like we do at the end of our exercise, 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1, is just eighth notes offset. Okay? So you prepare yourself with this by making sure your eighth notes are in time. The double stops transition time from one hand to the other. If we didn't have the double stops, we'll play as a paradiddle pattern. This is what normally would happen. You see, time kind of was all over the place, really. And what that allows us to do, maybe the first bar is in time, but we need to create no space between one bar and the next. And so putting a double stop between the hands at the major shift in the exercise really helps that. So instead you have this. Start again. Yeah, early sticks in. That was my bad. But obviously we don't have the double stops between every hand, but it's in there to make you think about it, because we're always thinking, always aware of what we're doing. Sweet. So let's see. We got the bass drum stuff, got the stick height stuff, talked about the eighth note timing and the 16th notes. That's about it. I guess let me flatten this out, and I'll do two things at once. I'll flatten it out, play it match grip for you so you can see that. But also I want to talk about, we do this at a lot of different heights. Okay, you'll actually see on the music there is no dynamic. That's okay, no problem. I'm going to bump this and show you what happens. Normally the faster we play it, the lower our stick height will be. And that's the same reason we play 9-inch accents when we have fast music, because the faster we're moving, the less time we have to get back up. Right? So, here's what would happen if we played it at this tempo. So you notice my arm's not really moving a whole lot. And that's because quick motions need smaller muscles that can move faster. If you were going, you get really tired really quickly. Even if you were going, some groups do. We don't want to beat the snot out of the drum like that or wear out our muscles early on. So, smart about how we use our arm. The wrist to arm thing, a good rule for that, and that's where I'll end this video. Sorry it's taking so long. A good rule for that is the faster you are, tempo-wise, the less arm you use, okay? And that's not, oh, the page says 174. I consider that a fast tempo, so I'm not going to turn my arm. No, the faster your hands, sticks, notes have to go, that's the pacing that you need to go. There's a section in the show. You see, I had a big space there, so I filled it up with big arm, right? That's okay. That makes sense. The other thing is, the louder you are, so we're not turning just our wrist and giving ourselves carpal tunnel, the higher your stick is, the more your arm's going to have to relax and move. Okay, so 9-inch accents, a little bit of arm, good amount of wrist, 6 inches, very little arm, 3 inches, almost no arm, 15 inches, lots of arm, you know? Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. That's where I'm going to end this video because it's already almost 17 minutes long, and I know that's so grueling. So, awesome. Work on this stuff. Work on it, work on it, work on it. It's really, really important that we get the approach down now so that we don't have to work on it at band camp. We can come in, know half the show, learn the drill, be very comfortable with our music, and come out of the gate running. Because we're going to beat a lot of people next season that didn't think we'd be able to. So, there it is. That's your Legatos exercise. Sweet. See you around.